My name is Dean Tuck, and I'm the Managing Director of Dreadnought Resources. What makes us unique as an exploration company is that we are a young and hungry team. We're not a lifestyle company. We have boots on the ground. We're constantly putting out news flow, delivering exciting targets, drilling those targets, and when we're lucky, delivering the discoveries that go with it.
It's been great to see us go from having a few projects across WA to now having 5 major projects with Mangaroon Gold and Nickel, Mangaroon Rare Earths, Kimberley, the Illawarra, as well as the Bresnahan project as well.
Favorite thing about working for Dreadnought Resources is working with like-minded people who are ambitious and like to get things done.
Every day is different. Every day we're seeing something new, and it's just every day is exciting.
Get out in the field a lot, get to work with lots of young, passionate geos. We have a lot of fun.
Being able to work all over Western Australia with a really good group of mates and hopefully discover the next big deposit.
At our heart, Dreadnought is an exploration company. We will continue to deliver organic growth, generate new projects, define targets and test those targets, and continue to deliver the discoveries to provide the metals the world needs for our future.
Thank you all this morning. Hopefully that video helped wake everyone up, and hopefully I don't put everyone back to sleep. So Dreadnought Resources, it's fantastic to be here at Noosa. This is our 3rd time here, our 1st time in July. The weather's a lot nicer. I'm not sweating through my jacket. It's fantastic to see everyone here, everyone that's joining us online now and into the future. Thank you for tuning in and hearing the latest update on Dreadnought Resources. So there's last month at the Gold Coast, Nick Chapman stood up and presented about the Kimberley and some of our other exciting projects. There's 3 messages I want to get across today. The first one is to discuss what makes the Gifford Creek ferrocarbonatite complex so unique, the ironstones there and the rare earths associated with them, what makes that globally significant. Secondly, the carbonatites that we are finding in that region as well, which are new and recently discovered. And thirdly, I'll finally touch on all of the other exciting portfolio projects that we have coming up over the next 6 to 12 months. Get the thingamajigger to work. The lights, action. Dreadnought Resources, we're a junior exploration company. I guess we're more of a mid-tier exploration company now. We're very active. We have a lot of projects and quite a few commodities across the state of Western Australia. As we mentioned before, we are sort of a modern take on the project generator model. Big companies like to build mines. They're not very good at making discoveries anymore these days. So we want to be the team that's on the ground, that make those discoveries, control that news flow, and then when we get to that stage of delivering the discoveries, the resources, improving the economics, at that stage, all options are on the table to find out how we can crystallize value for our shareholders, either through outright sales, partnering with a big mining company or downstream partner, or spinning that asset out into a new entity to allow it to go into mining itself with the right mining team in place. We've invested over $5 million to date of our own cold hard cash, and we put over 80 to 90% of that money into the ground. We're not a lifestyle company, and we're very active. In the last 4 years, we've made a number of discoveries, and we'll talk today quite a bit about the Mangaroon Project. If I can make things work. So the Mangaroon is sort of 3 projects in one. I think Luke referred to it as 2 in that video. We'll talk about the rare earths up front. This is what's certainly driving a lot of our excitement at the moment, and all of our attention, well, 90% of our funds and our attention is going into this project as we speak. So the Mangaroon Project, we're right next door to Hastings Yangibana operation, which is going into production. We have the other half of that deposit. We have these high grade, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment. You might look at 1% and think that's not high grade, but we'll talk about the high NdPr and high met recoveries that make this region so unique. We have certainly a large exploration target there. This place has the opportunity to become quite a significant multi-generational rare earth producer. We've also recently discovered source carbonatites for that region, which not only adds the high NdPr monazite concentrates, it also brings into the mix more rare earths, niobium, phosphate, titanium, and scandium. Up from the rare earths, about an hour drive away, we have our high-grade gold, which we're quite excited about in the background for later this year, and our nickel-copper PG joint venture with First Quantum, which will also be drilling this year, hopefully making additional discoveries on the Mangaroon Project and other commodities. Talking about the Yen Ironstone resource, you can see the Yangibana ironstones there to the north, which is what Hastings operations is being built upon, and then our ironstones, the other half of that, the other side of the Lions River Fault just to the south. In the middle, the carbonatites, which I'll talk about in a minute. We've gone from discovery to resource. That first resource was in 6 months. We've already put out our second resource update, which included our first indicated component of that resource. We're drilling away right now. The diamond rig's finished up. We have 2 RC rigs still going. We should finish all of the drilling to deliver the next round of resource update, which includes a significant component of indicated resource by the end of this month, back onto the carbs, up to the Kimberley, and then over to the nickel and the gold. Some of the things that make this area unique, and we talk about a fair bit, which I'll go into a bit more detail on, is one, the really high NdPr to trio ratios, and also the metallurgy that comes from this region, which is extremely high in the global context. So if we look at how this region compares to some of the other global deposits, you'll see some of the yin at our 0.4 cutoff and 1% cutoff in red. We've only done a few met tests on this, so for there we also have the Yangibana Reserve, which is around 1.2, and the Yangibana Resource in orange. So you might be wondering why, who in their right mind would show us being on the right-hand side of this sort of a chart, low-grade total rare earth oxides, and that's because total rare earth oxides are probably one of the biggest farces in the industry of rare earths. And you look at what you actually get paid for and what the market's actually demanding, it's purely neodymium, praseodymium in the lights and dysprosium, terbium in the heavies. So the fact that we can get away with reporting trio as some sort of false metal equivalent is a bit of something the industry needs to change upon. So what does matter? NdPr. So if we convert that over to the NdPr grades within that resource, we start moving up the graph a little bit. But we all know that those grades are in ground, and we all know who do rare earths, that rare earths are extremely complicated, and metallurgy is king. And so you don't get paid for metal in the ground. You get paid for the metal that you actually produce at your first product. And for us, that's concentrate. So what is the recovery of these deposits at those grades into concentrate? And what you'll see is that the Yangibana region goes up into the number 3, number 4 spot behind some of the world-class deposits. And that's why deposits like Nolan's Bore and Yangibana are the next ones going into production. That's why this region, when we say it's high grade, this is why we're referring to. Those NdPr trio ratios and those recoveries have a massive impact on the grade of what is actually recoverable from those deposits from mining. But the impact of NdPr trio ratio goes even further than that. And that's going into that first product, which is our concentrate. When you look at the concentrate, you can look at something from Mountain Pass that's over 60%, something from Mount Weld that's 34, 35%, and you look at the concentrate coming from Yangibana, 27 to 30%, but the contained grade of that of NdPr is the highest grade NdPr concentrate anywhere in the world. And if you look back at one of the first, I have our lower grade concentrate recovery on here. The first met test we did out here on the outcrop samples at Yin North had a 15% neodymium praseodymium grade in it. That's nearly twice the grade of the concentrate that's coming out of Mount Weld. So, first viable product, monazite concentrate. If you're running a refinery that's converting monazite concentrate to MREC and then to total rare earth or into rare earth oxides, you're going to want the material that gives you the most neodymium praseodymium per unit that goes through that plant. And secondly, and almost as importantly, not only are you getting more neodymium praseodymium per unit concentrate, you're also producing less cerium and lanthanum. Because in order to extract the neodymium and praseodymium, you also have to extract the cerium and lanthanum. And you don't get paid very much for cerium and lanthanum, and at the moment, the production cost is more than what you can sell it for. So it's one of the things we really like to talk about, why this region is important, and this is a great way to illustrate that. Beyond that performance, as we go forward to 2030, 2040, the demand of rare earths in the market is going to go to 40 to 50%, dominated by neodymium and praseodymium. So in order to meet that demand, we're going to be flooding the market even more so than we already are in cerium and lanthanum in order to meet the demand with the concentrate that we have available to us. And these are the reasons why we're quite excited about being in the Gifford Creek ferrocarbonatite complex. This is why Hastings next door to us and our product is some of the most exciting projects in the world in rare earths. And so when you take a step back, clearly there's a consolidation play to happen here. When's that going to happen? Who knows? Who's going to do it? Who knows? But what we see here, Pilbara, Altura, they built 2 plants, they got into operations, they got consolidated at one stage. Down the future, I can guarantee you that we're going to make sure that we do what's best for our shareholders. High tonnage intensity, so when you look at the resource intensity, the Yin deposit, from a mining parameter standpoint, is one of the thickest near surface, highest grade deposits in that region. So Hastings has a 10-to-1 strip ratio. Our strip ratios for yin will be much lower. That's one of the biggest driving costs of the mining costs of that area. So next steps for us, continue infill drilling, deliver the indicated resources to lead us into scoping study work so we can prove the economics. We have ongoing met work and MREC test work being done by ANSTO at the moment. Now, moving on to C1 to C5, those carbonatites there in the middle. This is something that's quite unique that hasn't been known for this region and only recently discovered by us at Dreadnought. The C1 to C5 carbonatites have the opportunity to be a larger scale operation than just the ironstones in their own right. That also exposes that region to more critical metal commodities such as niobium, titanium, phosphate, and scandium. Now, it's an early stage discovery. We don't have the second mover advantage as we had with Hastings on the ironstones, so the met work here is going to be king, and we have our first met samples going through, mineralogy work happening as we speak. Put the first holes in October, and we should actually have our first resource out on C3 next month. Other thing to talk on here, sorry, mouth's getting a bit dry. We've only completed about 30% of the first pass drilling, wide space 160 by 160 meter space vertical drilling to see through the shallow cover into what is mineralized within these carbonatites. I want to show up there, some people have asked recently, why did you only drill 5 holes recently, what we call stinger, and produce some of those high-grade niobium intercepts there over 1%? And the reason why we drilled those is our original interpretation you'll see there in light pink. When we first looked at the mag data, again, these are mostly undercover, very shallow cover, we thought that the carbonatites extended only to those pink areas. But the first pass drilling we completed last year, only 2 holes went through and tested outside the carbonatite. That surprised us. So we went back, did a mag inversion, reinterpreted that data, and extended the carbonatite interpretation out quite a bit further. Now, because we had only cleared with heritage and environment what we originally thought were the carbonatites, because you don't really go outside the areas that you want to drill, we had cleared 5 lines and there was an alternative access track. And so we drilled 5 holes into that to test the idea that the carbonatites extended beyond that. Not only did the carbonatites extend, confirming our new interpretation, but 2 of those holes hit mineralization on wide space drilling with good niobium and rare earth intercepts. So we're extremely encouraged about what the rest of this C1 to C5 carbonatite complex will open up. Will there be more rare earths? Will there be more niobium? Will there be more titanium, scandium, and other critical metals? We'll find out as we complete that drilling. We now have that heritage survey done. We have those POWs in place. So as soon as we finish the infill drilling here in the next couple of weeks, our rigs will be back on the carbonatite first pass drilling. And anything we hit there with high grades, we'll turn around, infill those, and deliver resources and additional met work as well. Very, very exciting, the possibilities of what's going to come from C1 to C5. In addition to that, we have ground gravity crews out there right now because we've done this interpretation off the mag, we've done a reinterpretation off the mag, and now we're adding a new gravity data set to this region, and the interpretation of those carbonatite extents could change yet again. Bit of a close-up into this. So C3 is one of the first areas of mineralization that we found from the first pass drilling. You see a nice supergene blanket, as you expect to see in these sort of residual enrichment of mineralization. Got a sort of a supergene blanket there sitting on top, over 1% rare earths, a bit of niobium pocket sitting in there as well. We'll put out that resource. That resource will have a plus 1% component in it in the residual. It will also potentially have a resource on the niobium as part of that resource as well. And we expect that resource to come out in August and the additional Ironstone resource to come out later in this year. So 2 more resource updates from this project before the end of the year. So moving on to the rest of the project portfolio, so I'm running out of time. We have a lot of projects, nickel, copper, silver, lithium. We're not a one-trick pony. We're not a single project asset. We're an exploration company. We're here to find metals needed for our future. And we have quite a few exciting projects lined up there. The Kimberley, one of the reasons why we're here in the first place. In 2021, we made a discovery up there, undercover, 16 meters, 2.2% copper, ounce silver, 6.6 grams per ton, 0.4% cobalt. We're very excited about getting back up there. We have 13 other targets with the same geochemical and geophysical signature, just like that discovery we made in 2021. We see this as an Ivanco style of opportunity. We're going to go up there and test all 13 of those targets, prove the scale of the region. If the region has scale, plus 20 million ton potential, we'll do the met work and be in a position to be up there in 2024, delivering the resources in the scoping study like we're doing on the rare earths right now. Mangaroon Gold, as we take a step back past the Kimberley, It's a competition between our other projects and assets to see which ones are going to fill that pipeline, deliver our next discoveries that we can start delivering resources and scoping studies on. Mangaroon Gold, this has been acquiring in the background. We have Black Cat up the road, bringing Paulson's back into production. We'll have some potentially high-grade feed with the Star of Mangaroon. That's 14 strike kilometers of dozens of historical gold workings done by pastoralists and prospectors that only has drill holes over 200 meters of that 14-kilometer strike, with drill intercepts such as 4 at 26 and 7 at 14.3. We're extremely excited about what we're going to produce from the Star of Mangaroon consolidation. We've flown detailed magnetics. We're getting that data back in the next couple of weeks, and we've just completed several thousand ultrafine soil samples, which will give us drill targets for testing later in this year, delivering some gold discoveries to put through the Paulson's mill. Mangaroon, or another mill if Gareth doesn't pay up. We also have the Mangaroon nickel-copper joint venture with First Quantum. There's a lot of companies interested in this ground. First Quantum was the first one in. It's not often you get an active, very fertile nickel system. It's a new discovery in Western Australia. And then in the background, yet again, Bresnahan, Central Yilgarn, lithium, gold, and nickel. We're very excited about. We have 4 crews on the ground right now at Central Yilgarn, out there doing geochemistry and geophysics, trying to generate targets in the lithium, the nickel, and the gold. So, in summary, upcoming catalysts, we have a lot of work across a lot of commodities. We're fully funded for all of the work that I've just talked about today. So thank you very much.